What's up, YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC Fight Night Lewis versus Dos Santos. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Alex White versus Dan Morit, and to me, I think Dan Morit's better on the ground. He's basically just a jiu-jitsu guy, but I just don't think he has the wrestling to get it there. I also think Alex White has decent takedown defense, and he's decent at getting back up to his feet. The biggest thing is I just think Alex White has a huge advantage boxing-wise. I think Alex White has been caught before, but for the most part, his striking is really, really good. As long as he doesn't get caught, his striking is a lot better than Dan's, and I think his ability to keep it on the feet is better than Dan's ability to get to the ground. So I got Alex either win by decision or knockout. Next is Alex Morono versus Zach Ottawa, and to me, I think Alex Morono is just way better. I think Zach Ottawa is basically just like a decent wrestler. I don't think he's super well-rounded. I think his striking especially isn't that great. I think Alex has a huge advantage there. I think Alex is also the better overall fighter. I think if this does hit the ground, it's pretty close, but on the feet, Alex is just way better, and I think Alex just keeps it there and eventually wins by knockout. Next, we got Louis Smolka versus Matt Schnell, and boxing-wise, this is pretty close, but I think on the ground, Louis just smokes Matt all day, every day. I think that Schnell has decent takedown defense, but I don't think he's good enough to keep Louis off of him. I think, like I said, the striking will be back and forth, but eventually Louis will close the distance, get to the ground. I think once he gets it there, he's going to win by submission. Next, we got Marcus Rain versus Jeff Hughes, and to me, Marcus Green, he's a decent striker with decent jiu-jitsu, but Jeff Hughes, I think, is just overall the better fighter. I think his conditioning is better. I think his mix between the boxing and the wrestling is really good. And also, Jeff already has a win over Marcus Green, basically doing what I just said. He kind of just outboxed him and out-wrestled him and out-conditioned him, and I think the exact same thing is going to happen this time. I think he's just better at keeping a pretty high pace, and I think Jeff just edges out every round and wins a 30-27 decision. Next, we got Grant Dawson versus Julian Erosa, and on the ground, I think Grant's a little bit better, but I just don't feel like he's got the greatest striking game. And I think if Julian can keep this on the feet, I think he can just knock Grant out. I think that's what's probably going to happen too. I think that Grant, he beats a lot of decent people, but he hasn't fought anyone amazing, as where Julian has fought a lot of really good people. I think that experience is going to help him. I think, like I said, as long as he keeps the distance and uses his long arms, he should be able to win this fight just with the knockout. So I got Julian win by first round KO. Next, we got Marion Renault versus Yana Kunitskaya. And to me, Marion Renault hasn't looked super amazing recently. I mean, she got that win over Sarah McMahon, but that's just because she caught her. I felt like she was in that whole fight up until that point, and then she just lost her last fight. I think that she's got decent striking, decent jiu-jitsu, but I just think Yana's the better striker and the better wrestler. I think that Yana's also the much bigger chick. I think Yana's just going to be able to push Marion Renault up against the fence and just grind her out for 3 rounds. So I got Yana winning by decision. Next, we got Anthony Martin Rocco versus Sergio Moraes, and this depends entirely if Sergio can get to the ground. If Sergio can get to the ground, he can beat anybody. It's just he has a hard time getting it there sometimes. I think Anthony Martin's the much better striker. He probably will keep this at distance and just win by knockout or decision, but I just don't know. I just feel like leaning towards Moraes. I think he will pull this to the ground. Realistically, Martin's going to win this fight, but I don't know. I just have this strange feeling Sergio's going to get the upset. It's tough. Like, if you're betting money, don't bet on Sergio, but that's what I'm picking. I think he wins by submission, but like I said, realistically, Martin's most likely going to win this one, but I'm just picking Sergio. I think he wins by first round sub. Next, we got Tim Boetsch versus Omari Akhmedov, and this is tough because I think that both these guys are fast starters and they gas kind of fast. They both have good knockout power, but they both have decent wrestling and they're decent getting back up to their feet. It's just the conditioning. That's the biggest thing that worries me, is that either one of these guys could gas out at any minute because they start really fast, and it's just whoever catches who first, basically, or who can outlast the other if one of them throws too much and just gets tired. I'm slightly leaning towards Tim Boetsch. I think he's just a little bit better, but it's really tough. Like I said, I think these guys are just going to come in the middle, swing at each other, and the first one who gets caught is probably going to lose. It's tough, but like I said, I'm just slightly leaning towards Boetsch. I say he either gets that knockout or he just slightly edges out a decision. Next is Beneil Dariush versus Drew Dober, and Drew Dober's looked really good recently, but I just don't think he's at Dariush's level. I think Dariush is just a little bit better of a striker and definitely a much better grappler. I think if this fight hits the ground at all, Dariush is going to have the advantage. Like I said, striking wise is probably pretty close. I'm still leaning towards Dariush. I think he's just a little bit more technical. I think if Drew Dober can kind of outpace Dariush, he has a chance, kind of like what Evan Dunham did, but I just don't see it happening. I think Dariush just has the better overall control in grappling situations, and I think that's just going to edge him at least 2 of the 3 rounds. And I've got Dariush winning by decision. Next is Bagalov Ivanov versus Ben Rothwell, and this is so hard to pick because we don't know what Ben Rothwell is going to look like. He's been out for like 2 years, and he's pretty old now. He's like 37, 38, which for a heavyweight isn't that bad. They can usually fight until they're like early 40s, but he's still been out for 2 years, so I have no idea what he's going to look like. With Igomov, I mean, he's not the greatest striker ever, but he's been fighting consistently, and he is good at pressuring guys up against the fence and just kind of beating them up there. It's kind of a coin toss just because, like I said, I have no idea what Ben Rothwell's going to look like, and just because of that, I have to lean with Ivanov. I think that his activity and I think his overall better cage control wrestling is going to edge him out the fight. I think it'll be close, but I think he gets a split decision, so I got Ivanov winning by decision. Next, we got Tim Means versus Nico Price, and Nico Price's biggest problem is that he loses to better strikers all the time. I feel like even some of the fights he's won were just comeback wins after he was losing most of the fight. And I think that's what's going to happen in this one. I think Tim Means is just the better striker. I think that in any position, whether they're outside or inside, Tim Means is just a little bit better. And I think sooner or later, Tim's going to catch Nico, and I think that's probably going to be like towards the end of the second, early third. I don't see this fight hitting the ground. Nico's probably the better grappler, but I just don't think his grappling is good enough to get Tim there. Tim's takedown defense is pretty solid, so I think this will be a striking fight for the whole fight, and I think, like I said, I think Tim Means is the better striker, and I think he wins by knockout. Next, we got Eloise Dos Santos versus Curtis Millender, and striking-wise, it's pretty close. Curtis is probably a little bit better, and he also has some reach, so I think that'll help him too. But I think Dos Santos has a big advantage grappling. I think his overall wrestling game is just much better than Curtis's is, and I think if he needs to get to this ground, he will. It's tough, but like I said, I think Dos Santos has this weird way of catching guys too. Like he gets used to people's striking style, and then he starts to hit them more as the fight goes on. Like he usually loses the first round, round and a half, and then once he starts to kind of get the range, he starts hitting guys a lot more the longer the fight goes. And like I said, I also feel like if he can get this to the ground, he has a big advantage. Curtis, in my opinion, is not the greatest on the ground. His takedown defense is okay, but he really can't do much once you actually get him there. And that's what I think is going to happen. I think Dos Santos, if he can't find the range with his striking, he'll eventually get this to the ground. I think he'll just start wailing on Curtis. So I got Dos Santos winning by TKO probably in the second or third round. Next, we got Derek Lewis versus Junior Dos Santos. And Derek Lewis has the ability to end this fight at any point in time, but I think he's too slow. I think JDS, people don't give his conditioning enough credit just because of the cane fights, but I've never seen Junior gas in like a 5-round fight where he's consistently moving. Like you look when he fought both Ben Rothwell and Igomov, both those fights were 5-round fights where he kind of just danced around them for 5 straight rounds. I think that Junior has the better striking technique than Lewis, and I think his takedown defense is too good for Derek Lewis to pull to the ground. I think that this fight is going to be just like those last 2 fights I said. I think that Derek Lewis is just too slow. Like, he has decent hand speed. It's the foot speed. I don't think he can catch Junior. Like, we've seen, like, if you can't close the distance on him, he's just going to dance around you and throw, like, those light jabs and stuff like that for 5 rounds. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think his conditioning is just way better, and his technique's just way better. I think he's just going to be able to move around for 5 straight rounds. I think this will be like the Rothwell fight and the Ilgamov fight. It won't be super exciting, but I think Junior just edges every round and wins a 50-45 decision. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.